remember the second to last day. We had surfed in the morning and come up to the village at lunch, surfed in the afternoon, and I was lying in the grass with a 5-year-old girl, and we're looking up at the sky, and she looked at me and she said, they always called us Uncle. She said, "Thank you, Uncle Jeff. This is the first time in my life I have ever experienced joy." And it was probably it was definitely the most heartfelt moment I've ever had in my life.
My name is Jack Villarell, and I'm president of Indojax Surf Charities. I started Indojax Surf School and then began doing charity surf camps for those in need. I met a man named Paul Wilkes at St. Mary's Catholic School in Wilmington. He had mentioned possibly doing a surf camp in India, and at the time I kind of thought he was kidding, but I said yes, and I think he thought I was kidding as well. The next thing you knew, we were organizing this trip.
During our trip, we traveled from Wilmington to Barkla Beach in India. I'm Dan, and I'm a surf instructor at Indojax Surf School. I really didn't know what to expect, to be honest. I thought everybody was going to speak English. That wasn't the case.
I had some preconceptions of the way that these children lived, but was much more shocked at the open sewer systems, the trash in the streets. What an impoverished area of India this was.
Almost all of the girls can't swim, don't get an opportunity to swim. Pretty much all of them have never seen any large body of water, and certainly they've never tried something like surfing or boogie boarding, and that's why it's just such a neat experience for them. Their summer vacation is in April and May, and at the orphanage there's generally 65 to 70 girls throughout the year. And when their summertime comes around, many of the girls have some place to go. When we go there, these are the orphans that have nothing.
They have no relatives, no town. Many of them had lived on the streets.
And they're stuck in this orphanage with not a whole lot to do. They're well taken care of, but they don't have anything fun to do. And our job, what we do when we go there, is to show them a good time, teach them a few things about the ocean, take them surfing, and basically take them on a vacation and try to capture some childhood fun that they've been missing. The second year we went back, clearly they were excited about going surfing. They knew what surfing was this time. They were waiting for us when we arrived at 3 in the morning, and all they could talk about was going surfing.
When we pulled into the orphanage at 2 o'clock in the morning, both the orphans and the sisters were extremely excited about this trip.
They helped us get all the equipment ready. They helped us load it up, whereas the year before they had no idea what was going to happen to them. They were excited the whole trip to the beach.
They had never been in the water. They had never swam. With a life jacket and an introduction to the ocean, they were young kids again. They were just having the time of their life.
When we got there, it was clear that all they wanted to do was climb on a surfboard and try to ride waves.
Some days the waves were big, but we just would keep them in shallower water where we could stand and they could stand, and would just push them into the end of the waves where the waves lost a little bit of power. Each girl was different. Some would be you could tell they were a little more nervous about getting into deeper water, so you just keep them a little closer in. There were a couple girls that were really good by the end of the week, because we'd all be surfing and swimming in the same little area. And I remember pushing one girl into a wave and she stood up and kind of was weaving around all the other girls swimming, so that was awesome.
They understood what surfing was all about, and that's just being joyful and having fun in the water, and the camaraderie of all the people at the ocean. It was neat to see. what I've noticed is that the Indian people do not get in the water. They stay completely covered at the beach, long pants, long sleeves. They don't like to get dark. They don't like the sun on them. So it is an odd concept that we take these girls surfing, and girls in general don't get to do a lot there. So it's even further odd that we're taking orphan girls surfing in a place where this is not the norm by any means. You know, it was surprising when we first got there. I didn't realize that there would be such a stigma attached to orphans, and that was one of the first obstacles and first, you know, sort of trials we had over there.
A lot of the townspeople were very unwelcoming to Jack and the instructors when they first came last year.
It made things more difficult trying to find places for them to stay and trying to find a place for them to eat. I came across one that I thought was ideal, and I talked to the manager, and he flat out told me they're orphans, we don't want them staying in the hotel. And I think it was 2 or 3 conversations later that he finally agreed, because his hotel was empty and it still had plastic on the bedding. And that was the only reason he agreed the first time to let us stay there. This year when we came back, I had no way of contacting the hotel owner, so I was hoping that he would let us stay again. And when I ran down to his hotel, he was standing there and his eyes lit up, huge smile. He said, all you have to do is clean the rooms and you guys are set. And it took him forever to clean the rooms, because each time he cleaned a room, he would come out and start hugging the girls again and talking to them. And he was distracted by his happiness to see the girls versus the year before when he didn't even want them to stay.
From the first trip where Jack had taken them to the second trip, these people were much more engaging and much more loving of these girls. I think there's, you know, profound change with the small town of Varkala Beach because of these young orphans and what we've been able to do.
That don't get to play like kids should, they don't get to do fun things, they're just trying to make it. And what we offer them when we go there is, it's short-lived, but it's a childhood loss. We try to give them a fun time, we try to teach them that there are people out there that care about them and want to see them succeed in life, and we're trying to make an emotional connection with them. On the bus ride home, one of the girls, she had just graduated college. She'd been in the orphanage since she was 3 years old, so for 20 years she was in the orphanage. And she turned to me while on the bus, and she was sort of half crying and said, "These have been the best days of my life." Because feeding them is important, housing them is important, but having a childhood and having emotional health is important as well.